Welcome to Frontier and Center. I'm Gene Munster from Deepwater, and as a reminder, Frontier and Center is a weekly podcast. We talk about frontier tech. Frontier tech, by definition, is what is going to change our lives in the next 3 to 5 years, and the components of frontier tech have the flexibility to focus on where most of that innovation is coming from. Of course, AI is a big focus more recently and has become a bigger part of the Deepwater Frontier Tech ETF. That ticker is LOUP. And we kick off each episode by going over the performance of the ETF. Year to date, it's up 1%. That compares to the NASDAQ that's up 3.5%. And since inception in 2018, it's up 68%. So focusing on each week, we talk about a company. This week's company is AMD. You may have heard it more recently. AMD is a chip provider. The company really got its start as a secondary supplier for companies like Compaq and Dell. As they were buying so many chips from Intel, they did not want to be beholden to Intel. And so Intel licensed some of their technology to AMD, and they got their start making CPUs. And that's been a big part of the AMD story up until recently. And when we think about how the chip market has evolved more recently, it's really broken down into two levels. First is CPUs, central processing units. This has been the bread and butter of compute for the past 40 years. And then more recently related to GPUs. And this is graphics processing units, and these are more adept at doing training and inference for artificial intelligence. And the three big companies that get talked about are, on the CPU side, is Intel. They're just starting to get more into GPUs, but most of their business is CPUs. And on that front, Intel has about 70% share in the US, and AMD has about 20% share of CPUs. And then we have on the other side is on the GPU side, of course, that's led by NVIDIA with their incredible growth, growing in their current January quarter at close to 300% off of big numbers. So it's been an impressive run for NVIDIA. And then the company in between has been AMD. They have a CPU business and they have a GPU business. And that GPU business has been around for a little bit. It's increased in terms of the impact on the business. So I'm going to go back. If you look at in 2022, fiscal 22, AMD did $300 million in their GPU business, $300 million. In the December quarter of 2023, they did $500 million just in that quarter. And they have raised the expectations about what they believe that the GPU business will do in 2024 from initially $2 billion. That's what they talked about their analyst day back in November, $2 billion, to now $4.5 billion. And there are some expectations that it will be even north of $4.5 billion for 2024. So it's just seen some incredible growth in AMD's GPU business. And they just announced a new product within that. It is the MI300, and that is their next generation GPU. And so that's what's also fueling some of this growth. So bottom line is AMD is doing a great job of pivoting to where most of the spending is going on when it comes to AI training and inference, and that's on the GPU side. And because of that, the stock has done exceptionally well over the past year. If you look at the valuation of AMD, it's currently trades at about 30 times 2025 earnings. That's a similar EPS multiple as NVIDIA. It's going to be growing faster in some of those out years and has a $288 billion market cap. So the advantage here of owning AMD is you've got more potential growth because that business is smaller. I mentioned this $4, $5, $6, $10 billion GPU business. To put that into perspective, is NVIDIA in any given quarter will do $18 billion plus in a given quarter. So when you put this all together, as you look at the GPU business, AMD has about 12% share of the GPU business. There's room for them to increase that, and that's one of the pieces that we're optimistic about. And taking it even to the highest level, the reason why this is part of Frontier Tech is that the silicon piece is a really hard, critical layer to building AI. And there's only a few companies that can ultimately power that. And we want to make sure that we have exposure to that theme from a silicon base, a very defensible base. So on behalf of this week's Frontier and Center, I'm Gene. Bye for now.